Coming up on today's Goblin RIDES podcast.
The way how we make this stuff go away is for you lot to be responsible. If you are going to get an aftermarket exhaust, slip-on, whatever, make sure that it is moderate. So it sounds better, it sounds like, so it's satisfactory.
But it's reasonable.
It's not ridiculously loud. And the problem is that the biggest culprits right now are 125cc riders. Okay, so please be responsible with the exhaust systems that you're buying. Don't buy some cheap Chinese thing. Get something from a proper manufacturer that have built something proper and that do meet guidelines, government council guidelines and things like that for things like noise. It is important, but that is how we make these things go away, is that if you lot are being responsible. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Goblin RIDES Podcast. Today again I'm joined by the lovely wifey. How you doing, wifey? She's back. She's back after a spot of illness. How you doing?
I'm
feeling
alright.
better?
Yeah, I'm mostly there now.
Yeah, you feeling okay? What was it? What did you have? Was it just a bad cold?
It was just
or
a
something?
really bad cold, but it wasn't COVID, but it took me down. Like my voice went and everything, didn't it?
I think if anyone's had a cold, it's a bit more than a cold, isn't it? It's like, we call it like a head cold, but it's not quite just a cough or a runny nose or a sore throat. It's a little bit more than that, where you feel like your head is kind of like
it's full of sand.
Yeah, it just feels like it's full and it's constantly like trying to get out.
And that's the thing though, because like I felt a bit funny on the Wednesday. And then I woke up on the Thursday and I was just absolutely, like, just riddled with it, whatever it was. And I took 2 days off work in a row, which I don't normally do. And then, so basically, I was kind of out of it for 4 days, which is not pleasant.
It does suck, because it just ruins any plans that you might have had, doesn't it? But, I mean, well, luckily you're on the mend now,
I'm mostly there.
We're away this weekend, so
I'm mostly there. It's just those bits that like drag on a little bit, but I feel much better, thank you.
Last little remnants. Oh, sorry, we've still got this little cloth here with our old Daytona old sprocket there from the video that we shot. I don't know, when was it? Last week or something, or the week before. I can't remember. But anyway, so I mean, not really much has happened. I don't think. It's been same old. Well, we did get a new car.
We did get a new car.
Got a new car. We got a Honda CR-V.
Yeah.
It hasn't replaced anything though. It's an addition to our collection, I guess. I don't know, but yeah. So we've now got a Ford Fiesta ST, a Honda Civic Type R, and the CR-V. Yeah. So it's an old CR-V with 130,000 miles. Well, I say old. It's 2005. So it's pretty old at this point.
It's a workhorse, which is what we needed, wasn't it? We needed something bigger to be able to do things that we couldn't, like my car's not big enough to go down the tip, and yours isn't.
Yeah.
So this is...
Mine's bigger, but it's not like the CR-V. The CR-V, actually, from the outside, it doesn't look that big, but
you get in it, and
there's
it's huge.
so much space. It is crazy.
Massive. It is ridiculous.
And it's a fun car to drive as well.
Yeah, it is, to be
fair.
So
I'm really enjoying it, even though because ours is the 2-litre petrol, which is pretty much the same engine that I've got in my Civic and my Type R, but it is slow. It is a slow machine, and luckily it doesn't seem like the rust has got to it too badly either yet.
No.
So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to keep that car for a while. But I've done the oil on it, the filter, I've done the clutch fluid. We probably should look at doing the brake fluid as well.
Yeah.
And we've added like a screen to it as well, haven't we? A little center console, sat nav, and Android Auto, Apple CarPlay thingy in the middle.
It's more just aesthetic stuff now we want to do, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. It is quite doggy and a bit mucky, so
we want to sort that out.
It does need a bit thorough clean, but that's neither here nor there. So today, unfortunately, we're going to be discussing some potentially quite depressing news about aftermarket exhausts, and this is an article that came out a week ago now, and it's about how, I mean, pretty much anti-tampering, at least this is according to the article, the title of the article, new anti-tampering rules set to limit exhaust noise on, well, it doesn't actually say if it's specifically to bikes, but I'm guessing it's for bikes and cars. I'm guessing this is like a blanket thing. I don't know.
Well, the top one says there, motorcycle exhausts are the centre of attention once more, but you can guarantee if it comes in for one, it's going to come in for the other, isn't it?
Pretty much. And I mean, we have had this discussion before about loud pipes save lives and all that stuff, and how there's kind of two camps. You've got the camp where they believe that it does help with visibility and things like that. You got the other camp that is like, well, no, it doesn't really do anything like that. It's just because you like the sound of it. All right. For me personally, when it comes to all this kind of stuff, it's that if it does or it doesn't help with visibility, I don't think that really matters so much as it's something else to help potentially with your visibility.
Yeah.
So it's like, wearing high-vis jackets might not seem like quite a big thing, but to some people that would make them feel a little bit more visible, a little bit more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the same thing for us, for bikes, because we are so small on the road. And you get drivers saying all the time, oh, we didn't see you and stuff like that. Well, the noise of a bike, especially when you're approaching a junction, for example, and there's a car that's just about to pop out the junction, well, that's a use case where an loud exhaust might help you.
Yeah.
And because I did watch a video, which is quite good actually, on a fairly new channel called Old Man Rides, and they got some really interesting videos. But one of the videos was like busting common motorcycle myths or something like that. I can't remember what it was exactly, but they did mention about loud pipes. Loud pipes save lives. The thing that we always hear.
Yeah.
The thing that's always kind of said, almost like an old wives' tale, I suppose. And they made the point that if you're riding down the road, you're filtering, for example, or lane splitting, and a car decides to swap lanes, it doesn't matter how loud your exhaust is, they're probably not going to hear you, because most of the sound is going behind you.
Yes.
Yeah, which does kind of make sense. But in use cases that I've proven, where I've been out on my ZH2 with the new exhaust and what have you, the pedestrians all hear you, they all turn around and see you, they all look at you. So if a pedestrian is going to jump out in front of you, then that is a use case where that can help you. If like I said before, if a car is coming up to a junction and they're looking like they're about to pull out and they're not seeing you, that extra added sound might also help. So it's not one of those things that necessarily guarantees that you're going to be more visible, but it's just something else that could help.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is a benefit regardless. The sound of it, the nice sound, is a bonus to me. I do like the sound of slip-on exhausts or full exhaust systems and things like that. I think they sound very, very nice, especially over like the stock sound of a motorcycle.
Yeah.
To be fair, you do get quite a lot of bikes that have really nice sound stock, but it's an option there that makes a motorcycle just a little bit more exciting if it's got a little bit long in the tooth.
And for some people, they like to have a shorter exhaust, a bit more of a stubby one, don't they? So they opt for an aftermarket one.
And they tend to be louder as well, don't they? Unfortunately, yeah. So you can get stubby exhausts which are lighter as well. That's another benefit to having a shorter exhaust, is it is lighter, so you get a slightly better power to weight ratio, things like that. Because again, a lot of stock exhaust systems are extremely heavy, and not the pipes necessarily, but just the end can. The end can is extremely heavy. I mean, I remember when I took it off my ZH2 and on the Daytona as well, how heavy those boxes were that we took off the bikes, and how much lighter the bikes are now going to ride and feel as a result.
Which makes it safer for you, surely.
Well, it makes it... I don't know if it makes it safer necessarily, but it will make it's less weight to move around, you know? So when you're going into that sharp corner, if you're going a little bit too quick around a bend or something like that, in theory, it might help ever so slightly lean that bike over, because it... is it called conservation of momentum? Something like that, where it's like once you start moving something... I can't remember exactly what it is, but it will contain or have some energy behind it, and the easier it is for a motorcycle to move from, leaning from like a vertical position to a leaning position. In theory, it would be a little bit easier, but I mean, I'm not 100% kind of like up to speed with Newton's laws of physics, but you know what I mean. It's something like that. In theory, it could help you. I mean, why do you think that race bikes are made to be as light as possible? There's not just for power to weight ratio. It's got to help with handling.
Yeah.
You look at a Formula 1 car. The reason why it's so light is not just for acceleration, but also to get around the corners quickly, and to stop the body roll as well. So I imagine that it's a very similar kind of concept for bikes as well. So you could have that benefit, but these rules, which on this article here, I mean, we'll go through it in a little bit, but it doesn't actually say when these rules are going to be coming in. This is on Visor Down, by the way, and there's also an article like this on MCN as well. But I mean, well, let's read it out. So, new rules are incoming which could significantly affect the aftermarket exhaust sector. In short, the new rules mean that any aftermarket exhaust system fitted to a bike must not make any more noise than the standard OEM system it is replacing. So this is quite an interesting one, and you might automatically think, well, that's simply going to kill the aftermarket exhaust market.
Trade.
Because
Yeah.
like one of the nice parts about having an aftermarket exhaust is it sounds a little bit nicer, it sounds a little bit louder, right? But the way how manufacturers get around this is to simply build louder exhausts as stock
Yeah,
on
that's
their
true.
bikes.
Yeah.
And especially when you look at, I mean, Kawasaki are the only reference point that I've got here, but all the manufacturers do this, where you have the stock motorcycle and the added extras that you have, like you can have a slip-on exhaust, you can have like Brembo calipers for brakes, or you can have like some Olin suspension or something like that, right? Some uprated components which aren't on the base model. Could you also make the argument that those bikes are stock? Because they are technically, they've come from the manufacturer
In
like
that
that
state,
as an
yeah.
uprated form. So that is
mean-
also potentially another loophole. Like my ZR, for example, those stock Akrapovic exhausts are really, really nice, and they're fairly loud as well.
Yeah, you've had problems with your MOT before, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, MOT test. Well, there's a specific MOT tester that thought that those exhausts were too loud, but they also thought they were aftermarket. When they're not, they
Yeah.
are stock from the manufacturer with those Acra exhausts.
But I think I understand what you're saying, but then there's going to come in rules, isn't there? If people do start doing this, where they're going to start they're going to start saying, "Oh, it can be no louder than these decibels." That's what they'll eventually bring.
There
in.
already is that. And these exhaust systems. The aftermarket ones that you buy. So it mentions a little bit later on about baffles that you can remove, but with the baffles in, they are legal.
Yeah.
So they already have rules like that. I don't quite understand why they feel like, okay, it's quite easy to remove a baffle from an aftermarket slip-on. It's quite easy to do. So it is one of those things that, I mean, they do mention this later on, where manufacturers of these aftermarket exhausts may either make it incredibly hard for you to remove the baffle, or they'll just weld it in.
Yeah.
So you physically can't remove it. So things like that could happen in the near future. I don't know. I suppose it remains to be seen. So just referencing what I mentioned there, it says here in the article, in many cases, an aftermarket exhaust could be sold with a baffle, also called a DB killer, located at the end of the silencer. With a baffle in position, the volume of the exhaust would be reduced, although in many cases the baffle could easily be removed, opening up the silencer, making the exhaust system much louder. Moving forward, it's likely that baffles will be fully integrated into the exhaust system, making them much harder or even impossible to remove. So, sorry, go on.
I just have a question about kind of like the not the legality around this, but so this would obviously get picked up mostly in your MOT.
Yes, yeah.
So obviously right now where they're not integrated in, what is stopping someone on a day-to-day ride taking the baffle out and then for their MOT putting it back in?
That's what I do.
The police aren't going to stop you, are they? Because they're not going to really know how loud your bike should be, right? Unless it's obnoxiously loud.
Yeah, I don't think police, or that many police, carry decibel meters around with them. So
until it's integrated, because this would be something that's possibly coming down the line, potentially, this is just a guess, isn't it, that's going to be integrated.
Yeah.
There are loopholes, like you say, to get around it, of taking it out and then putting it back in for your MOT.
To be fair, since the MOT, in my ZH2, I have actually left the baffle in. So, because, like, the only real difference really that it makes is that it has a deeper growl at the lower end RPMs, which I really, really like.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really change the sound of the bike at higher RPMs. And bikes make the most sound at higher RPMs.
Fair
And
enough.
of course, on an MOT test, I think the loudness is tested, I think, up to like 6,000 RPM or 5,000 RPM.
Right.
It's not very high. So unless they change the MOT parameters for how noise is tested on a motorcycle or in a car for that matter,
They still might not pick it up.
it probably won't really make that much of a difference to the overall issue here, which is people complaining about the noise that motorcycles and cars are making.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, like, living here, we've got a 40 mile an hour road next to us. There's lots of traffic. It's a dual carriageway. It's a main road. and you hear these little piddly 125s with ridiculously like loud exhaust that are they just don't make any sense on a motorcycle like that. But you do hear it an awful lot, and that I don't know, man. Like that, I don't really appreciate. But it seems to be that the people who have bigger bikes, the people who have the 600s, the 1000s, and things like that, they put on a new exhaust like I do, but it's not ridiculously loud. Like you can't hear it from 2 or 3 miles away. Whereas with these 125s, that's how they sound. You can hear them from miles and miles away. I mean, when we did our video of removing the silencer off of your bike, what that sounded like, how loud that was. But these cans that they put on them amplify the sound even more. So it's just like, I don't know. It is an issue on smaller motorcycles, I think. And I have no doubt that there are going to be some people out there that would do something similar. Like, for example, they put on a race exhaust system on their street bike. Those are illegal. You are not allowed to have race systems on your bike. But people do it anyway, and I'm sure that people get away with it on MOTs as well. But I understand the issue with this. I understand the issue around noise, but I don't think that, well, one, banning the baffles in aftermarket exhaust is an answer. And I mean, I don't think that. What are the other rules that they're saying here? Oh yeah, that it can't be any louder than the stock exhaust. I don't think that's fair either. But just one example of where a baffle that is removable is valid is if you want to take your bike on track.
Yeah.
Right. So you ride your bike around on the streets as normal with the baffle in. You track day it. You take it out. That is a perfectly valid reason for having a removable baffle in a slip-on exhaust. There is another issue, though, with that argument, is that there are lots of racetracks that have sound limits as well on track.
Didn't know that.
I think, was it Thruxton that we went to recently?
For BSB,
or it might have been another track, I can't remember. It might have been a conversation that we were having. But, there are, these days, on certain tracks, there are restrictions on how loud vehicles can be on track, which just seems absolutely ridiculous. But, I mean, there you go. So, I mean... So to be honest with you, there's not really that much more information here on this article, but we'll just read out the rest of it. This was something that the European Association of Motorcycle Manufacturers addressed in 2023 when, along with the aftermarket exhaust industry and the International Motorcycle Manufacturers Association, guidelines were set out to combat excessive exhaust noise. These guidelines have led to the UN contracting parties adopting new anti-tampering provisions specifically relating to vehicle exhaust systems. And then they have this quote underneath here from, I don't know, some busybody that, I don't know.
So, I'm probably missing something, but I don't know how this has come about. Like, so they've said excessive exhaust noise, but how have they come to that conclusion? Like, do you know what I mean? How have they got to this point where they're like, right, we need to really do something about this noise? Is it people that are complaining? Is it this, one Karen that's just like, oh, I hate motorbikes, let's make everyone miserable? I really want to know where this has stemmed from. I'm just curious. There's not enough information in this article, unfortunately, to give me that information.
About the reasoning, about the justification for this.
I mean, okay, maybe they don't think that we need to know, and that's whatever. But it just makes me curious. Well, when they say things, the European Association of Motorcycle Manufacturers... Why have they come? Like, what's concerned them? Yeah,
what concern do they have? I mean, people always say about noise pollution, and noise pollution is a thing. But you are quite right in saying that it's probably a minority of people with really loud voices that are pushing things in this direction. Look, you guys, I'm not going to lie. I don't really think that this is an issue, at least not where we live anyway. No. It's not that bad. And the thing is as well, like most people, they don't care. The only time when it's an issue is when you're trying to go to bed.
Yeah.
When you're trying to sleep and there's something like really loud that is disturbing your sleep, or like what we have sometimes where it's like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and then all of a sudden you get this car with a bellowing exhaust sound just passing by and it wakes you up. Things like that. I get, but most people don't do that.
No.
Most people aren't like that. So like, for example, I mean, I very rarely take my H2 out on a ride very, very late at night.
Yeah.
To try and stop trying to wake people up.
Yeah.
But there are people that are very sensitive to noise, like my mum and dad's next door neighbour, for example. They can't even handle our dog barking when he's over there. It's just like, there are some people, but these are the kinds of people that will speak the most for this kind of stuff to happen.
Yeah. And it always seems to be people that are just so against the hobby or the person that
they're just miserable people in general.
That, you know, they hire their lawyers and they do all these things, and they just, because they want to make one person's life miserable, they I don't know, they just don't like something. But then they start to get traction with it, and they start to be able to convince other people that their ways, or their view is right. And that's not, that's, I don't know. Obviously I'm biased to this because I don't think it's fair that it's getting, you're getting restricted.
The thing is, though, is that if we start doing this kind of stuff, there's nothing stopping these people from complaining about how loud stock motorcycles are. Like, for example, the Blackbird, that's not a loud bike.
No.
Whatsoever. Compared to what we've got, it's not a loud bike. But there will be people that will hear that going by and think that is ridiculously loud. They'll have an over the top reaction to a stock bike. So that's the problem. If you do something about this, these same people are going to be complaining about something else. They're going to be complaining about something else. It's a never-ending cycle that they will just find something to complain about. These people are big whiners. That's what they do.
These are people who want everything to be electric. No sound.
Well, yeah. But there is an issue with that as well. No sound on the road. That could potentially be an issue for pedestrians and things like that.
You know what I'm saying? It's people who don't want any sound, so they definitely want to have...
but then they'll find something else to complain about. I mean, it's just...
I know that you can't please people like this.
You cannot please anybody. I mean, that's the thing. Like, this isn't harming anybody, and if anything, it could be protecting riders. So why are you taking this away?
And it's another way that's going to put people off riding.
Maybe.
If they were like,
maybe.
you know.
But it will put people off being enthusiasts.
Yeah.
You know, not just bike enthusiasts, but car enthusiasts as well. Like, how many people who drive enthusiast cars have mods like this?
Because it does say relating to vehicle exhaust systems. I know this is the motorcycle manufacturers talking about that, but the UN contracting parties specifically relating to vehicle exhaust systems. I mean, I've paraphrased, but...
Yeah, just here.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, you know, it's going to start to kill the car industry. Like, your car is loud.
Well, yeah, this... And the thing is as well, there's no details about how this is going to be enforced. Like, for example, is this going to be retroactively enforced where... You know, I've already got my exhaust systems now on my bikes. Are you going to take those away from me? You're going to tell me to take those away from me, or is this going to be coming in? Yeah, on new bikes. Like, so the MOT test centers have got records of the sounds of all of these vehicles, and they're testing to compare what the sound is of the original compared to what you have. I don't know. There's no detail of any of this. No. So as far as we're aware, this could all just be speculation.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Because there's not much information about it, because there's no, you know, how this is going to work, when they're expecting it to come in, what are the steps, what are the stages, what do you need to do. I think it is all at the moment just talking. So
we can hope at this point that this is just speculation and it just goes away.
I'm not
There's no word here about any of this specifically here in the UK. This is a European thing. But with a lot of European stuff, it eventually comes to us as well.
But one thing I will say is there's bigger things going on in the world than the sound of a motorcycle exhaust.
Yes, there is.
You know, like...
Say that again.
why aren't we looking after, you know, all the nurses that have gone on strike recently? Why aren't we looking after them and focusing the light on them? Why is this so important right now? It's not.
And that's one thing that we can hope for, is that policymakers will realise that this kind of stuff is not as important as other issues and focus on other things, and this will go away.
It seems like a silly use of money to put all this through.
Yeah.
When, like I said, there's ways that money could be used elsewhere for better, and like I said, there's bigger. It just really bothers me when something like this, which is actually really trivial in it's not a safety thing really, like safety of the bike.
No, but if anything, it helps with safety.
Yeah, but it doesn't, like, the loudness of the bike doesn't make it less safe.
Nope.
It's not making it more. It's not putting more carbon into the world, is it?
Nope. It's not affecting emissions. Nothing like that.
No, it's not doing anything negatively apart from giving someone an earache. So
even then, I doubt. But
so do you see what I mean? I just feel like it's a trivial in the can't get my words together today. In the grand scheme of things, of everything else going on in the world, or even in the motorcycle world, it does not matter that much for there to be an article about
how this does affect people is businesses.
Yeah. Because
there are lots of businesses that sell these aftermarket exhaust systems. There are lots of businesses, funnily enough, there's a company called Pipeworks, but it's called so Works is spelled WERX.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Pipeworks. Okay. And they are manufacturers of exhaust systems.
So they'll be out of business.
They'll make slip-ons, they'll make full exhaust systems, and they're all custom and made to order. Right, businesses like that will disappear because of this.
They'll have to start integrating the baffle into the system, and that, I mean, I imagine that's going to change the entire process of creating the exhaust.
I don't know, but the problem is that this might start off like this, where they'll have guidelines and things like that, but it could eventually just end up being, well, sorry, you can't do any modifications to your bike or your car. Can't do any mods. Simple as that. You can't do any mods. And then that will certainly affect these kinds of businesses. But it does mean that all of these people who are selling or manufacturing these components will have to start spending money changing their manufacturing processes, changing their suppliers, because, of course, like most countries in the world, they don't care about this kind of stuff. It's just for the Europe and the UK. So it's like, so a lot of these, like, for example, Scorpion, do you really think that they're going to, you know, I mean, I was going to say, like totally change the way how they're manufacturing their exhaust just to satisfy the UK market. I mean, they might do, but if the business isn't there because of things like this, then they probably wouldn't even bother.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know, man. But it's another thing that hurts enthusiast motoring, you know. Like, in essence, there's nothing wrong with being an enthusiast, but these kinds of things make it seem like as if there is something wrong with it.
It's funny because I was just thinking about electric and how this is almost another stage towards electric, because you're saying, right, you can have your ICE for now, but only at the sound we say you can have it. And then it's going to get to, well, you can have your electric and there's going to be no sound at all. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I think I'm just being a skeptic, but I feel like, yeah. I don't know. I think I've said everything that I can say about this, because it just comes across as so ridiculous and so pointless. People may not agree with me on that, but I don't understand why this has to come about. Like I say, if maybe I had some context as to where this is coming from, what the stats are, what people are saying about why this has to come in, maybe I could understand it. But I have no information. All I know is that this may be happening.
The problem is that, like, I've looked at other sources of information for this, and there isn't really a lot of extra detail about the justification for this kind of stuff.
Which makes you think it hasn't got that far, because there isn't that much out there.
So, I mean, there you have it, everybody. We can hope that this kind of stuff just disappears, goes away after a little while. But the way how we make this stuff go away is for you lot to be responsible. If you are going to get an aftermarket exhaust, slip-on, whatever, make sure that it is moderate. So it sounds better. It sounds like, you know, so it's satisfactory.
But it's reasonable.
It's not ridiculously loud. And the problem is that the biggest culprits right now are 125cc riders. Okay, so please be responsible with the exhaust systems that you're buying. Don't buy some cheap Chinese thing. Get something from a proper manufacturer that have built something proper and that do meet guidelines, government, council guidelines and things like that for things like noise. It is important, but that is how we make these things go away, is that if you lot are being responsible. And that's just the way how it is, you guys. And that's the thing. It's always about the people who take the mick the most that cause these kinds of problems.
The majority spoil it for the
the minority spoil it for the majority. Exactly.
Yeah.
It is a classic case of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, you guys let us know down in the comment section how you feel about this kind of stuff and whether or not you think it will affect you as a rider, or maybe you're one of those people who might be looking to get an aftermarket exhaust, slip-on, or what have you, and maybe this has made you, I don't know, second-guess the whole idea. Well, let us know down in the comment section below. But yeah, go on.
But also, if you agree with this, let us know why.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
No hate. Just why you agree with this.
Yeah.
Just because I'm curious. I want to understand different points of view and different perspectives. But yeah, if you, like I say, if you agree with it, let us know. So maybe it'll help us understand it a bit more. Maybe.
But, well, we'll see. We'll wait and hear from you guys, see what you have to say. But yeah, let us know down in the comment section below. And as always, please go ahead, leave that like, hit that subscribe button down there and that notification bell. We'd really, really appreciate it. And, well, yeah, I think that's everything from us today. So thank you so much again for watching. Take care, ride safe. We'll catch you in the next video, everyone. Have a good one.